Flight 3024 to Indianapolis had been delayed for 2 hours, and Tegan Dawson had already exhausted all her patience along with her phone battery. When she finally managed to board, she discovered that her economy seat had been upgraded due to a system error. Now she was there, in seat 2A of business class, next to a man who wouldn't stop typing on his laptop as if he were saving the world. Landon Franklin glanced discreetly at the woman who had just sat beside him. Slightly tousled brown hair, a camera hanging around her neck, and a look that mixed exhaustion with determination. He knew her, or rather, he knew her work. For weeks, a photo taken by her had been circulating on his social media. A 12-year-old girl soaring over a skateboard ramp with a smile that defied gravity. Emma Dawson, the skateboard princess. And if she was there, it meant the photographer was... "Sorry," said Tegan, trying to adjust her bag without bumping into him. "Seems like there was some confusion with the seats." Landon closed his laptop and smiled. It was really her, the woman behind that photo, that had inspired him to sponsor an entire competition. "No problem at all. Landon." He extended his hand, but she was already fiddling with her camera, clearly uncomfortable. "Tegan," she replied quickly, without much enthusiasm. "You're not one of those businessmen who talks about deals the entire flight, are you? Because I've already had a terrible day and really need some quiet." Landon chuckled softly, definitely not what he expected. "I promise. I'll behave," he said, but already knew that flight would be anything but quiet. Tegan observed him from the corner of her eye. Well-tailored suit, expensive watch, overly confident posture. Typical businessman who thought the world revolved around him. But there was something different about that smile, something genuine that made her lower her guard for a few seconds. "What do you do for work?" she asked, trying to be polite. "Film, production," Landon replied, leaving out the details. "And you?" "Besides photography, of course." He pointed to the camera. "How do you know him a photographer?" "Deduction," he lied. "And lucky guess." Tegan rolled her eyes. "How original. Let me guess, you want me to photograph your next corporate event?" "Actually," Landon began, but was interrupted by the flight attendant announcing takeoff. During the flight, they exchanged barbs disguised as polite conversation. She teased him about pretentious businessmen. He responded with intelligent humor about stubborn photographers. When the plane landed in Indianapolis, both were laughing about a discussion over the best spots to photograph the sunset in the city. "It was interesting," said Tegan, grabbing her bag. "Definitely," Landon agreed. "Maybe we'll run into each other again." "Indianapolis is a small world," she shrugged, but smiled. They said goodbye at the terminal, each going their separate way. Tegan to her simple apartment in Broad Ripple, Landon to his penthouse overlooking the White River. Neither imagined that fate had already made other plans. 3 days later, Tegan was adjusting her camera lens at Eagle Creek Park when Emma came running, too excited for a Saturday morning. "Mom! Mom! You won't believe this!" shouted the girl, holding her skateboard. "Extreme Vision Films is going to sponsor a huge competition here in Indianapolis, and they want me to participate." Tegan stopped fiddling with the camera. "Extreme Vision Films? Never heard of it." "It's the most famous production company for extreme sports films in America," Emma explained, bouncing. "The owner is a super cool guy who really loves skateboarding. They say he used to skate himself." Something clicked in Tegan's mind. Film, production. The man on the plane had said he worked with film. "What's his name?" she asked, already dreading the answer. "Landon something. Franklin. Landon Franklin." Tegan felt her stomach knot. The universe definitely had a sense of humor. The skateboarding competition sponsored by Extreme Vision Films had transformed Eagle Creek Park into a real circus. Enormous ramps, giant screens, food trucks, and a crowd that Tegan had never seen at local sporting events. She was there as the official photographer for the event, a job she had accepted before discovering who the organizer was. Emma was backstage, nervous for the first time since she started competing. It was the most important competition of her life, and Tegan could feel her daughter's anxiety mixed with her own tension, knowing she would encounter Landon at any moment. "Mum, you've been acting strange since yesterday," said Emma, adjusting her helmet. "Did something happen?" "Nothing, Princess, just normal overprotective mom nerves," Tegan lied, checking her camera settings for the 10th time. "Tegan Dawson?" A familiar voice sounded behind her. She turned slowly, and there he was. Landon Franklin, but now wearing a casual tank top, backward cap, and a French bulldog on a leash, completely different from the suited businessman on the plane. "Landon," she said, trying to sound professional. "What a coincidence." "Coincidence?" He smiled in that way that was becoming irritatingly familiar. It's destiny." Emma watched the exchange of glances between the two with the typical sagacity of a pre-adolescent. "Do you two know each other?" she asked, curious. "We met on the plane a few days ago," Tegan explained quickly. "Landon, this is my daughter, Emma, the famous skateboard princess." Landon crouched down to greet the girl, and the bulldog immediately became interested in her skateboard. "This is Bruce. He's also a fan of extreme sports." Emma laughed when Bruce tried to sniff the wheels of her skateboard. "Hez, cute. Do you really like skateboarding, or is it just because of the company?" she asked with typical age frankness. "Emma," Tegan scolded, but Landon laughed. "Direct question, direct answer," he said. "I used to skateboard when I was younger. Wasn't very good, but I loved the feeling of freedom. That's why I created the production company." Tegan watched how he spoke to Emma without condescension, treating her like a serious athlete. This irritated her even more, because it meant he wasn't just another pretentious businessman. "Are you going to photograph me competing?" Emma asked her mother. "Of course, Princess. And are you going to film for the documentary?" she asked Landon. "Documentary?" Tegan frowned. Landon looked a bit awkward. "It's a special project I'm developing about how skateboarding transforms the lives of young athletes. And my mom is going to photograph for the documentary too." "Emma!" Tegan protested again. "Actually," Landon looked directly at Tegan, "I'd very much like to discuss that possibility." Before Tegan could respond, a blonde woman in high heels approached, interrupting the conversation. "Landon, darling," said Madison Hayes, kissing him on the cheek with more intimacy than necessary. "I was looking for you everywhere." Tegan felt a strange pang in her chest, seeing the intimacy between the two. "Madison." Landon subtly stepped away. "This is Tegan Dawson, our photographer, and Emma, one of our main athletes." "Oh, yes." Madison looked Tegan up and down with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "The freelance photographer. How interesting." The tone made it clear she found nothing interesting about it. "And you are?" Tegan asked, already knowing she wouldn't like the answer. "Madison Hayes, digital influencer and, let's say, special consultant for extreme vision," she introduced herself, linking arms with Landon. Emma, who had picked up on the tension in the air with a smart girl's intuition, decided to break the ice. "Cool. Do you understand skateboarding too?" "I understand many things," Madison replied with false sweetness, "especially how to protect special people from inappropriate situations." Landon frowned. "Madison." "Mom," Emma tugged at Tegan's shirt, "can I go practice one more time before the competition?" "Of course, go ahead," Tegan said, mentally thanking for the interruption. While Emma walked away with Bruce running after her, Madison took the opportunity to drive in her claws. "Tegan, dear, I'm sure you understand that this is a very specific environment. People like Landon need special care against opportunists." "Madison, enough," Landon said firmly. But Tegan had already understood the message. She was the opportunist in the story. "Don't worry," she said to Madison with an icy smile. "I only came here to work." She turned and left, leaving Landon wanting to run after her and Madison with a victory smile that would soon turn into worry. The competition had begun, and Tegan was completely absorbed in her work. Through the camera lens, she captured every movement of the athletes, every emotion, every moment of pure adrenaline. It was in these moments that she forgot all her problems and truly connected with her passion. Emma was crushing it. Each trick was executed with technical perfection and a unique style that had already become her trademark. Tegan felt pride swelling in her chest with every click of the camera. "She's incredible," said a voice beside her. Landon had quietly approached, watching Emma through the lens of a professional camera. "She is," Tegan replied without taking her eyes from the viewfinder. "She was born for this. Just like her mother with photography," he commented. This time, Tegan looked at him. "How do you know if I'm good at what I do?" Landon discreetly pointed to a printed photo that was pinned to the production table. It was one of the photos she had taken on the first day of training, a skateboarder in the air, with the evening light creating a golden effect in the background. "I know how to recognize talent when I see it," he said simply. Tegan felt her cheeks warm, but tried to maintain professional composure. "It's just technique and luck," she murmured. "No, it's not," Landon insisted. "You have a unique eye. That's why I wanted to talk about the documentary." Before she could respond, an excited shout from the crowd made them look at the track. Emma had just executed a trick that drew applause even from the competitors. "Wow," Landon whispered, impressed. "It's the trick she's been training for months," Tegan explained, pride showing in her voice. "She called it Princess Flight." "Perfect for the documentary," he said, but immediately regretted it when he saw Tegan's expression change. "Look, Landon," she turned to him, putting away the camera. "I got the message from your special consultant. You don't need to keep making up projects to keep me around." "Making up?" He seemed genuinely confused. "Tegan, I started planning this documentary months ago, long before I met you." "How convenient." "It's true. Want to know how I found you? Your photo of Emma went viral on my social media weeks ago. It was the one that inspired me to organize this entire competition." Tegan stopped. "What photo?" Landon took out his phone and showed an image she immediately recognized. It was a photo she had taken of Emma training at Eagle Creek Park 2 months ago. The girl was in the air, with her arms open and a huge smile, really looking like she was flying. "This photo changed everything for me," Landon continued. "I saw her pure joy and thought, this is what I want to show the world. Not just the sport, but the transformation it can cause in people's lives." Tegan looked at the photo, then at him, completely speechless. "Did you really not know I was the owner of the production company when we met on the plane?" he asked. "I knew you were Emma's photographer," he admitted, "but I didn't tell you because, well, you already thought I was a pretentious businessman. I figured if you knew I was kind of stalking you professionally, it would be worse." "Stalking?" She raised an eyebrow. "Figure of speech." He laughed nervously. "I just really wanted to work with you." At that moment, Tyler appeared running, interrupting the conversation. "Landon, we have a problem," said the young producer, clearly agitated. "Someone sabotaged the sound system for the finals. And there's more. It leaked on the internet that you're having an affair with the mother of one of the competitors to favor her daughter." Tegan felt her blood freeze. Landon was visibly irritated. "What kind of sabotage?" he asked. "Someone misconfigured all the sound and video equipment. It'll take at least 2 hours to fix," Tyler explained. "And about the rumor, well, there are even photos of you two talking." Tegan looked around and noticed some curious glances directed at her. Her protective instinct regarding her daughter immediately kicked in. "I need to get Emma out of here," she said, already walking away. "Tegan, wait!" Landon followed her. "Don't let these rumors affect Emma. She trained so hard for this." "Exactly why." She turned to him furious. "I won't let them use my daughter to feed gossip." "Nobody's using anyone." "This is Madison's work, I'm sure. So you confirm that she's jealous of any woman who gets close to you." Landon stopped, realizing he had gotten himself into trouble. "It doesn't work like that," he tried to explain. "It works exactly like that in your world," Tegan retorted, "and I don't want my daughter to be part of it." She started to walk away, but Landon gently held her by the arm. "Please, don't give up on the competition because of me," he pleaded. Emma deserves this chance. Tegan looked to where Emma was, chatting animatedly with other skateboarders, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding around her. "One condition," she said finally. "Anything. You stay away from me during the rest of the event. Zero conversations that aren't strictly professional." Landon felt like he had been punched in the stomach, but agreed. Done. Tegan walked away, but both knew that this forced distance would be much harder to maintain than they imagined. The atmosphere at Eagle Creek Park had completely changed. The rumors about Landon and Tegan spread like wildfire, fueled by malicious social media posts and venomous comments that appeared with every photo published from the event. Emma, despite her young age, wasn't naive. She had noticed something was wrong when some mothers of other competitors started looking at her strangely and making comments in low voices. "Mom, why are those women talking about us?" she asked during lunch, discreetly pointing to a group that was clearly watching them. Tegan felt her heart tighten. She had tried to protect her daughter from all that confusion, but in a small competition like that, it was impossible to hide anything. "They're just silly gossip, Princess," she lied. "People who have nothing better to do." "Is it about you and Landon?" Emma asked directly, catching her mother off guard. "Why do you ask that?" "Because you two have been super weird since yesterday, and he hasn't stopped looking at you once, even though he's trying to hide it." Tegan looked around, and indeed, Landon was a few meters ahead, talking to Tyler, but his eyes constantly drifted in her direction. "Listen, Emma," she approached her daughter. "What matters here is you and your competition. The rest is just noise." "I know, Mom, but—" Emma hesitated. "Do you like him?" The question was like a slap in the face. Tegan hadn't expected to have to deal with this kind of conversation there, at that moment. "Emma, it's a simple question," the girl insisted, with the stubbornness she had inherited from her mother. "Do you like him or not?" Tegan sighed. Lying to her daughter had always been impossible. "It's complicated, Princess." "Complicated how?" "He lives in a very different world from ours," she tried to explain, "and I don't want these differences to affect you." Emma processed the information for a few seconds, then gave a knowing smile. "Mom, I'm 12, not 2. I know Landon is rich and famous, but I also know he looks at you the same way Dad used to look at you in those old photos." Tegan felt her eyes burn. Emma rarely talked about her father, who had died when she was only 3 years old. "And how was that look?" she asked in a low voice. "Like you were the most important thing in the whole world." Before Tegan could respond, a commotion on the other side of the park caught both their attention. Ryan Franklin, Landon's brother, was arguing heatedly with some event organizers. "Completely inappropriate for a serious competition," he was saying loud enough for half the park to hear. "Favoritism is a sporting crime." Landon approached quickly, clearly irritated. "Ryan, what are you doing here?" "Defending the integrity of our company," Ryan replied with a false smile. "Or did you think nobody would notice your conflicts of interest?" "What conflicts of interest?" "Please, Landon, you sponsor a competition where your secret girlfriend's daughter competes. And on top of that, you hire her as the official photographer." The accusation echoed throughout the entire park. Tegan felt all attention turned to her and Emma. The girl, in turn, seemed more confused than embarrassed. "She's not my girlfriend," Landon said through gritted teeth. "Not yet," Ryan retorted, "but the intentions are obvious." Tyler, who had come running, whispered something in Landon's ear that made him pale. "What is it?" Ryan asked, feigning concern. "Someone hacked the registration system," Landon announced, clearly shaken. "They changed some competitors' categories. Emma has been reclassified to the adult category." Tegan felt the world spin. Emma competing against adults would be not only unfair, but potentially dangerous. "How convenient," Ryan commented with irony, "right when questions about favoritism arise." "Are you insinuating that I sabotaged my own competition?" Landon faced him. "I'm not insinuating anything, just observing the coincidences." Emma, who had been quiet during the entire discussion, finally spoke up. "I can compete in the adult category," she said, with a determination that impressed everyone. Emma, no, Tegan intervened immediately. Mom, I've been training with older skateboarders for years. I can do it. It's not about being able to, Princess. It's about safety. Landon, who had been quiet, observing the dialogue between mother and daughter, finally spoke. Emma, you're an incredible athlete, but your mother is right. It's not worth the risk. But if I don't compete, you'll say it's because you two are together, Emma said with implacable logic. And if I compete and win, you'll say it was favoritism. Is that it? The silence that followed was deafening. The girl had perfectly summarized the dilemma they were all trapped in. You know what I think? She continued, looking directly at Ryan. I think you're afraid of a 12-year-old girl. And with that declaration, she grabbed her skateboard and headed to the track, leaving all the adults completely speechless. Emma's decision to compete in the adult category had transformed the competition into a real media circus. Sports journalists, bloggers, and curious onlookers crowded the bleachers, all wanting to see if the skateboard princess could face much more experienced competitors. Tegan was a bundle of nerves. She had tried to convince her daughter to give up about 5 more times, but Emma was unwavering. Worse yet, she was skating like never before. During the morning practices, she had executed tricks that left even the adult competitors impressed. She's going to get hurt, Tegan murmured to herself, adjusting the camera lens for the 10th time. She won't, said Landon, approaching for the first time in 2 days. She has enough technique to compete with anyone. You promised you'd keep your distance, Tegan reminded him, but without the hostility of previous days. I promised, but I can't stay quiet watching you torture yourself like this. Tegan looked at him. He had deep, dark circles and seemed to have slept little in recent days. Why do you care so much? She asked. Landon hesitated, as if deciding whether or not to be completely honest. Because I think I fell in love with both of you, he said finally. With Emma's determination and the way you protect her. With your passion for photography and the way you're not impressed by money. With everything. Tegan felt her heart accelerate, but before she could respond, Tyler appeared running, once again bearing bad news. Landon, we have a huge problem, he said, out of breath. Ryan leaked fake contracts to the press, saying Tegan is receiving triple the normal amount to photograph the event. What fake contracts? Landon frowned. He forged your signature and created a fake contract. It's already circulating on the internet. Tegan felt her legs wobble. That means that you're being accused of taking bribes to favor Emma, Landon completed, furious. Ryan crossed the line. At that moment, Robert Franklin appeared, walking determinedly toward the trio. Dad? Landon seemed surprised. What are you doing here? I came to resolve this mess before it destroys our family and our company, Robert said calmly, and especially before it hurts this incredible girl and her mother. He turned to Tegan with a gentle smile. Tegan? I'm Robert Franklin, Landon's father. And before you judge me by my sons, let me tell you something. I spent the entire morning investigating the sabotage of this competition. Sabotage? She asked. The sound system, the registration hack, the fake contracts, everything was orchestrated by Ryan with Madison's help, Robert explained. I have proof of everything. Landon was visibly shaken. Ryan did this? Your brother has been trying to bring you down from the company presidency for months, Robert continued, and he saw your closeness with Tegan as a perfect opportunity to create a scandal. But why? Landon asked, genuinely confused. Jealousy, envy, greed, Robert shrugged. The usual reasons. Tegan processed all the information, feeling a mixture of relief and anger. And now? She asked. How do we clear our reputation? Leave it to me, Robert said with a smile that very much resembled his son's. But first, you two need to resolve this situation between you. It's obvious you're in love, and frankly, it's getting pathetic to watch. Before either could protest, the announcement of the finals echoed through the loudspeakers. Emma was warming up, completely focused, oblivious to all the drama happening around her. Let's resolve this after the competition, Tegan said, picking up her camera. Now I need to photograph my daughter making history. Landon agreed, but when she started to walk away, he gently held her by the arm. Tegan? Yes. Regardless of what happens between us, Emma deserves to win this competition on her own merit, and I'm going to make sure that happens. She looked into his eyes and saw that he was serious. I know, she said simply, and headed to the track. The finals were about to begin, and Emma Dawson, the skateboard princess, was ready to show the world what she was capable of. Emma's first run was perfect. She executed a sequence of tricks that drew cries of admiration even from the most experienced competitors. When she finished, she was in first place, with a comfortable margin. But the competition was just beginning. During the second round, Jessica, a 20-year-old skateboarder secretly sponsored by Madison, attempted a risky trick that almost resulted in a serious fall. Emma, showing impressive maturity, interrupted her own practice to help the competitor, earning the respect of everyone present. That's what sportsmanship is all about, commented one of the judges, clearly impressed. Landon watched everything with a proud smile, filming every moment. Tegan captured not just the tricks, but also the gestures of solidarity, the expressions of determination, and the pure joy that emanated from each young athlete. In the final round, Emma executed her signature trick, the princess flight, with technical perfection that left even the judges speechless. She landed with a radiant smile, knowing she had given her best. When the results were announced, Emma Dawson was in first place by just 2 points. The crowd exploded in applause, and she ran straight into her mother's arms. "I did it, Mom! I really did it!" she shouted, still in shock. "Yes, Princess, you flew higher than ever," Tegan replied with tears in her eyes. Landon approached, carrying a special trophy he had secretly commissioned. "For the skateboard princess," he said, handing it to Emma, "who proved that age is just a number when you have talent and determination." At the awards ceremony, Robert Franklin took the stage with a microphone, addressing the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "before we close this incredible event, I need to clarify some information that circulated in recent days." He revealed all of Ryan and Madison's sabotage, presenting irrefutable evidence. The audience reacted with indignation at the manipulation attempts and applauded even louder when Robert announced that all prizes would be maintained and that a special fund would be created to support young athletes like Emma. "And now," Robert continued with a mischievous smile, "I'd like to announce that my son Landon finally found the courage to ask for the hand of the most stubborn and talented woman in Indianapolis." Landon took the stage, visibly nervous, and knelt before Tegan, who was completely speechless in the middle of the crowd. "Tegan Dawson," he said, his voice echoing through the loudspeakers, "will you marry me? I promise I'll support all your projects, cheer for Emma in all competitions, and try not to be too pretentious when talking about cinema." Tegan's response was drowned out by Emma's shouts of joy. "Say yes, Mom!" "It's a yes," Tegan replied, laughing and crying at the same time. While Landon kissed her in the middle of the stage, with Emma jumping for joy beside them and Bruce barking with excitement, Ryan and Madison watched from afar, their sabotage attempts having resulted in the opposite of what they planned, an even happier ending for everyone. Epilogue. 2 years later, Tegan was on the terrace of the penthouse overlooking the White River, editing photos from Extreme Vision Films' latest documentary in her new home studio. Bruce slept at her feet, while Pixel, the cat, watched the fish in the aquarium with feline interest. Emma, now 14, had become the youngest skateboarder to join the American national team and was training for the Pan American Games. The documentary about her journey, Flying High, the Emma Dawson Story, had won 3 international awards and opened doors for dozens of young athletes throughout America. Tegan and Landon's wedding had been celebrated at the same Eagle Creek Park where they reunited, with a skateboard ramp specially set up so Emma could demonstrate her skills during the party. Robert had been the best man, Tyler's girlfriend Sarah the maid of honor, and Bruce the ring bearer, a role he took very seriously. Ryan had been permanently removed from Extreme Vision Films and now worked for a small law office, far from the spotlight he had so coveted. Madison had tried to reinvent herself as a relationship coach, but her credibility never fully recovered after the exposure of her lies. "What are you thinking about?" Landon asked, appearing on the terrace with 2 coffee cups and a smile that still made Tegan's heart race. "About how life can change in a few years," she replied, accepting the cup and snuggling into her husband's embrace. "Did it change for the better?" "Definitely," she smiled. "Although I still find it surreal to have a professional studio at home and a famous daughter." "Technically, you're famous now too," Landon reminded her. "Your photography exhibition about young athletes premiered last week to a packed house." "I'm still processing that," she admitted. "Who would have thought that casual photo of Emma would change our entire lives?" Landon kissed the top of her head. "I always knew you two were special." "Speaking of her, where is our national champion?" Tegan asked. "Training on the new ramp I installed downstairs, obviously," Landon replied. "She said she wants to be ready to show the new tricks to Robert when he arrives." "And how's your relationship with your father?" "Better than ever," Landon smiled genuinely. "Discovering that he always supported our relationship from the beginning made all the difference. And he loves being Emma's unofficial grandfather." Tegan laughed, remembering how Robert had become Emma's biggest fan and unofficial advisor, always present at her competitions with witty advice and enthusiastic cheering. "And the company's social projects?" "Growing every month," Landon replied proudly. "We already support 15 training centers in underserved communities, and the scholarship program for young athletes has a huge waiting list." At that moment, the familiar sound of skateboard wheels echoed from downstairs, followed by Emma's excited voice, shouting something about a new trick she had managed to execute. "I think she wants to show us something," Tegan said, getting up. "She always does," Landon laughed. "And I love that about her." They went down together to find Emma practicing a sequence of tricks that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Bruce ran from side to side, barking with excitement, while Pixel watched everything from atop a shelf with typical feline dignity. "Mom! Landon! Look at this!" Emma shouted, executing a movement that made her spin in the air before landing perfectly. "Amazing, Princess!" Tegan applauded, already reaching for her camera instinctively. "Is this going in the next documentary?" Emma asked hopefully. "For sure," Landon confirmed. "Actually, I have a proposal for you two." He stopped filming and looked at the family he had built. "How about we make a documentary about mothers and daughters who share dreams? We could travel all over America, meet other stories like yours." Emma jumped with excitement. "Really? Can we meet other skateboarders? And I could photograph these stories," Tegan completed, her eyes shining with the possibility. "Exactly," Landon smiled. "What do you think about turning our family into an official documentary team?" "Only if Bruce and Pixel can travel with us," Emma negotiated. "Obviously," Landon agreed. "Bruce has already proven to be an excellent production assistant." While they planned the new adventure, Tegan looked around the house that had become her home. 2 years ago, she had sat next to a stranger on a plane, irritated and tired. Today, she was surrounded by the family she never imagined having, planning projects that united her passion for photography with Landon's love for cinema and social justice. "You know," she said, interrupting the planning, "I think that upgrade on the flight was the best system error that ever happened in my life." "It wasn't an error," Landon confessed with a mischievous smile. "I asked Tyler to hack the system and put you next to me." "Landon Franklin!" Tegan shouted, feigning indignation. "Just kidding," he laughed, running from her around the house. "It was really a coincidence. Destiny." Emma watched her parents playing like children and smiled. At 14, she already knew there were few things in the world more beautiful than true love between two people who completed each other. Bruce, Pixel, she called the animals. I think the adults went crazy again. Bruce barked approval, Pixel meowed agreement, and Emma went back to her skateboard, knowing she was exactly where she belonged, in a crazy, noisy, and perfectly imperfect family, where love was measured in laughter, mutual support, and the freedom to fly, literally, in her case. 3 years after that fateful flight, Tegan finally understood that sometimes the best things in life begin when you least expect them, with a simple, sorry. Seems like there was some confusion with the seats. And that true love, like a good photograph, is a matter of perfect timing, the right angle, and a lot of luck.